This is going to be a little bit more of a rambling video because I'm just going to pull up some web pages and take a look at them. With the current controversy regarding Bill C-16, which I believe at this point in time is passed, I wanted to look up the actual Ontario Human Rights Commission, the OHRC, and I wanted to see even what their website looked like and what kind of things they had on there. And I found it kind of, well, creepy and intrusive, and surprised that an organization like this even exists in a modern country that's, I guess, publicly type funded. So let's take a look and see that has legal powers. So if you go to ohrc.on.ca, and I'm using the English version, so it's /en, and I'll try to provide the links in the description below. The first thing that we look at is we see something that they've completed on May 4th, 2017. Corrections report confirms systemic overuse of segregation in Ontario. Sounds like they're talking about the correctional facility. The next thing it looks like they've completed on May 3rd is the new OHRC report reinforces concerns about racial profiling. Interesting. OHRC settlement opens door to more inclusive Toronto Police Service Memorial Wall. They give a little description here. As a result of a legal settlement between the Ontario Human Rights Commission, Toronto Police Service, and Toronto Police Services Board, officers who die from mental health injuries, I'm not sure what that means exactly, not just physical ones, sustained in the line of duty, will have equal opportunity to have their names included on the Toronto Police Services Memorial Wall. Okay. In looking over the website, which I can't say it's, I've done a complete exhaustive search of it, but they really appear to be attacking police specifically quite a bit. If we go over onto the right side of that page, human rights in Ontario. Looking down through here, you can see that their goal, the code's goal is to prevent discrimination and harassment because of race, sex, disability, and age, to name a few of the 17 grounds. All other Ontario laws must agree with the code. Not all unfair treatment, not all harassment is covered by the code. It must be based on at least one ground of the code. So you might be saying, what is the code then? Well, let's take a look and see if we can come up with that. The code prohibits actions that are discriminated against people based on a protected ground in a protected social area. Protected grounds are age, ancestry, color, race, citizenship, ethnic origin, place of origin, creed, disability, family status. Again, what family status? What that? Marital status, including single status. What? Gender identity, gender expression, receipt of public assistance in housing only, record of offenses in employment only, sex, including pregnancy and breastfeeding, sexual orientation. Protected social areas are accommodation, housing, contracts, employment, goods, services, and facilities, membership in unions, trade, or professional associations. Okay, and so looking in that right there, I would really like someone to post an area of life that does not include one of these things. Like, for real. Is there any area of life that they could not invade? Accommodation, housing, where you live. Employment, where you work. Goods, services, facilities, where you get your groceries from, or whatever else you get from, right? Generally, we live in a home, we work, we're employed, and we go buy stuff, goods, services, and facilities. So that's basically every aspect of our life right there in the protected social areas. And then they have a couple of like contracts, which, okay. Protected grounds, age, they don't even have anything other listed than age. So it could be young, old, I guess, anything. Ancestry, color, race. Again, I don't see anything like, so it could be if you're white or dark skinned or somebody just thinks you're dark skinned. Marital status, including single status. Okay. So that's married people and single people. Is there something else besides being married and single? I guess cohabitation? Not real clear on that one. Yeah, definitely not. But I think we should move on from that. So there is the code, as it were, and what it covers. Seems pretty all-inclusive. All right, so let's take a look now. One of these other reports got my eye. The new OHRC report reinforces concerns about racial profiling. Okay. Now, I was really curious because it says that it combines social science research with lived experiences gained through consultation with over 1,600 individuals and organizations. Over 1,600? Draws information from an online survey, applications to the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario, and extensive province-wide engagement with affected communities, legal and academic experts, educators, human rights practitioners, and police, among others. Kind of feel my brain melting just reading this a little bit. However, I wanted to actually find out how many people did they interview, right? That seems to be very important. So if you click on it and you look through it, they have an executive summary. And they give a quote right at the beginning of it. I'm frequently followed by police while driving, to the point that I expect it to happen, and I'm surprised when it doesn't. Black male, age 25 to 34. Again, I'm not seeing a lot of information. I'm reading through this and I'm looking like this is just based on people feeling that they were just like, the guy wasn't even saying he was pulled over. He just feels like he was followed by police a lot. That's what it is. Because that's not scientific in any, remote aspect. Sometimes you do gather observational information in preparation, but that's not a science paper. So you have to click on it again to pull it actually up, and then it gives you, well, like I said, it has that 1,600, and that's about all that I, am seeing. They do have what we heard, okay, yeah. They do have one section here, appendix. It was A, consultation participants. Let's see if that gives us a little bit more information. We still have this close to 1,600. Oh, it's just a bunch of people and organizations such as the Department of Criminology, Ryerson University, Syed Hussain, No One is Illegal, Toronto Migrant Workers Alliance for Change. Oh, jeez. Okay, got Ottawa Police Service, Ottawa Police Association, Law Union of Ontario, Black Lives Matter Toronto. Okay. So we've got a bunch of these organizations which, I don't know, a lot of them sound like it's in their best interest to find something wrong, not necessarily, hey, everything's fine here, but alright. Let's see if we get anything out of the Appendix B. the survey information. Region where respondent lives by first letter in respondent's postal code. Total responses. Okay, that's what I was looking for. Total responses, 1,363. Okay. What's the population of Canada? Okay, Canada 2016 census had a total population of 35 million. 35 million. And we have this based on a survey of 1,365 people. Online survey too, by the way, so I'm guessing it's not randomized in any way. How very, I mean, that doesn't sound remotely, not even remotely, like an accurate survey. Oh, I actually have here something about the creed. The survey respondents' religion or creed, if any, by creed category. So no creed counts as a creed. Okay, but at least we know what they count it as. Buddhist, Christian, Hindu, Jewish, Muslim, Sikh, indigenous spirituality. Indigenous. No religion, other. I'm guessing that because they're using creed to mean religion, that being no religion means that is your creed. So whether you believe in any sort of God or no God, again, that's covered by that Human Rights Council. So that includes pretty much everyone. All right. I wondered a little bit more about this, group of people, I suppose to call them that. And I looked a little bit on Wiki just to try to get an idea of what do they do? And again, this isn't a comprehensive listing by any means, but it looks like anytime that someone files a complaint, they go in and fine people basically for it. And the only thing that I could find where they actually have some sort of listing of their, like, what they can actually do, because I can't find anything like what is their actual power, what can they tell people to do, is I pulled up something called the Human Rights Code, RSO 1990, Chapter H19, Last Amendment 2016. So this is their actual, I guess, services that they do. They have freedom from discrimination, it's part 1. Services, accommodation, contracts, accommodation of person under 18, employment, vocational associations, sexual harassment, reprisals, infringement, prohibited. They have a lot more stuff listed under interpretation and application. Then they actually have the Human Rights Commission broken down by what they have. They have an acting chief commissioner, inquiries, search warrant. They can issue search warrants. Let's see what that says. The commission may authorize a person to apply to a justice of the peace for a warrant to enter a place and conduct a search of the place if a person conducting an inquiry under Section 31, we're in 31.1, has been denied entry to any place or asked to leave a place before concluding a search. Okay. So if they want to search and they said, no, I'm not going to let you, okay, they can go request it. Apply to a justice of the peace. I'm assuming that's kind of the same thing that they hear in the U.S. that they give. You got to go before a judge before you can just search somebody's house. A person conducting an inquiry under Section 31 made a request for document or things and the request was refused. Or C, an inquiry under Section 31 is otherwise obstructed or prevented. That last part seems basically if you don't do what they want, pretty much. Whatever they want, whatever. They could just ask you for a document. You do not provide it. Maybe you don't have it. Maybe it doesn't even exist. They can search. And I'm guessing because they have a warrant, they can also seize. But it doesn't actually say that here. But what would be the point in searching and then, oh, I found it. Let's just leave it here. Let's see. Oh, here's something called the, underneath the section, Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario, Statutory Powers Procedure Act, Tribunal Rules, Inquiry, Deferral of Application, Decisions Final, General. Ah, here's a penalty. At least there's something listed. Every person who can contravene Section 9 or subsection 31, 31.1 or 44, or an order of the tribunal is guilty of an offense and on conviction is liable to a fine of not more than $25,000, and that's 2006. Okay, well there's, I guess, some limitation on their power, it sounds like. Although I've heard the figure was more like $250,000, but not really sure on that. Let's see. Statutory powers. Let's see if this gives us anything. Well, no. Doesn't really give us a whole lot on powers of tribunal. Okay. The tribunal has the jurisdiction to exercise the powers conferred on it by or under this act and to determine all questions of fact or law that arise in any application before it. That and to determine all questions of fact. They get to just determine fact? Sounds very weird, very bizarre. However, on the wiki page for the Ontario Human Rights Council, they do talk about a couple of different cases, and I thought one of them was really important. It sounded like a pretty interesting one, and I'll give you the title. It's Sharon Abbott v. Toronto Police Services Board 2009. And in short of it, she was arrested, but her arrest did not result in conviction when she went before a justice of the peace. Of course, that could be different now. I think the worst part of it is the tribunal awarded Miss Abbott $5,000 in damages, compensation for the injury to her dignity and self-respect, and declined to award any damages for the injuries she sustained during the arrest, as they recognized her role in escalating the incident in that respect. Shortly after the tribunal's decision, the Toronto Police Service announced it was considering applying for a judicial review of the decision. By the way, apparently you really can't get a review from the Toronto Human Rights Commission. Even on their website, they state it's extremely rare, so they can just fine you and leave it at that. Toronto Police spokesman Mark Pagash argued that the tribunal's decision eliminates any possible defense against a racial profile allegation, stating that this should scare anyone who could be on the receiving end of such an allegation because it doesn't seem as though you can defend yourself, pointing out the tribunal stated there was no direct evidence that the complainant's race or color was a factor in the incident. So even when they determine that there's really no evidence, and I think that's important to point out that they do not use the standard definition of evidence that most of us are familiar with in the modern world. Apparently it's a civil, so it's just a much lower burden that they have to get to determine if something is legal or not, or falls under their whether they decide to take that as not. I just couldn't resist taking a look at that. I'm going to switch and go to the Ontario Human Rights Commission Strategic Plan 2017 to 2012. It's the Chief Commissioner's message, Human Rights at the Crossroads. Throughout our discussions, I'm reading from it now, another broader theme also emerged, a sense that we are at a crossroads, a point where our society must make crucial decisions that will have far-reaching consequences for the human rights landscape going forward. As our society becomes even more diverse, the lived reality of people with privilege and power is easily contrasted against people who continually find themselves on the margins. In 2016, the voices of people who were once silent or silenced have grown louder in their demands for a most just society, and not tomorrow or sometime in the future, but today. So this lived reality means feeling, because they present no real hard statistics that I can find. I mean, is Canada really that racist? Are they? I really don't think so, and I think if it was, they would present us with a lot more hard information, a lot more hard numbers. Because these seem to be just more situations of perception. Well, it could have been racist. The cop followed me, right? Could have been racist. He didn't pull me over, but could have been. And that is no way to go about, because the problem is that if there is actual racism going on, no one's going to pay attention with all this just mess thrown up. And that's all I can see when I read a statement like that. There appears to be no rationale, no reason, no logic behind it. It sounds like it's a baby crying and mama gonna go crazy. And looking through, just kind of like, here we go. Through a focus on reconciliation, the criminal justice system, poverty, and education, we will address the discriminatory impacts of broader systems of colonialism, state power, resource allocation, and enculturation, which cause nearly all code-protected groups, especially those with intersectional identities, to be marginalized and to have their disadvantage exacerbated or perpetuated. That sounds like they want to take over your country and rule it. Maybe I'll try to find up some statistics later in another video about Canada and see, are you all a bunch of racists? Is that a huge problem? Because the way they make it sound is that it is, and that they're going to get their good done to all of you. And like I said, reading the code, there doesn't appear to be any aspect of human life that they cannot stick their butt into. And even reading some of these, because this is their website, I would still be interested in knowing more about how they actually operate. Like I said, for the most part, it just sounds like anyone that files a complaint, they go after it and they try to find. And so far, it appears to be mainly about the police. I just wanted to make a video about this because I couldn't believe, just looking at their front page of their website, how controlling. And you would think that, I don't even know what kind of world these people live in, to look out and just see, I guess, racism and all the other things they had listed everywhere. It's just like you turn the corner, you just turn around and you bump into it here and there and everywhere. And I have to say, if their whole point to life, their existence for this organization, is to point out the injustice of life, that will never end. Life can never be just for all of us. I mean, it can't. We're born unattractive. Other people are born attractive. Other people are born tall. Other people are born short. You can't fix that. You can't make that right. And I'm not even sure you would, because I'm not even sure necessarily that it's wrong. Aren't they for diversity? So why would you want to make everything even? Some people are born really intelligent. Some people are good at math. I'm not that great at math. I had to struggle really hard in school just to get B's in my calculus class. It doesn't come easy to me. Something that did come easy to me is reading. I did really well in those sorts of classes. Math, not so much. Do we want everybody to just be a C student? We can't have a 200 IQ because it makes someone with a 100 IQ feel bad? I don't see that there's any end that they will stop at, given what I've looked at on their website. They will only grow more and more and find more and more problems. Because life is a problem. It's very hard, difficult. It is unfair. But I don't think you can... I mean, how are they supposed to go in and educate personal conversations, personal, like contracts? Even contracts are in there. Services, goods. I just don't see how that can ever end. In Canada, I've got to look up some of their actual stuff in practice and see what I can find, like what their actual, where they're willing to push this to. Because I don't know about most people listening to this, but a $20,000 fine would ruin my family financially. We are by no means rich enough that we could just pay that. And even a smaller amount that would be, we would not be able to pay. And I don't think that most people can plunk down that sort of thing. But even in that, it just really makes me wonder what their actual limits are and what they can push to. Like I said, so far all I can see is so far is fines. And it's mainly against police organizations, which of course the police, I assume, do pay it. I don't think they can arrest necessarily the whole police organization, but who knows again how that's going to end up working out exactly. So if you have any other information or anything else you'd like to provide, please go ahead and comment below. Add anything else that you would like to this conversation. And if you find it interesting, like I said, maybe I'll make another one about some of the more cases, specific cases. We'll try to pull up what actually happened and how they ruled and what their powers were and that sort of thing.